G'day citizens, welcome to the Inforunners. I'm Execute, joined by Old Man Hurst himself, Algared. How you doing, bud?
I'm alive.
Alright,
Always a good thing.
let's kick it off to the browser. This is, what did he call it? Commander Gander, and I assume this is about Arena Commander modes from the description. So, yeah, this is either going to be a hit or miss with some people, because racing, some people love, some people don't, so we'll see how it goes.
Well, I think hopefully it's more than just racing. So I know they talk about racing, but hopefully there's a lot more content in it than just racing.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Alright, here we go.
Did you know that Alpha 323 doesn't just have a ton of neat feature updates for the Precision Universe, but it's also got an entire host of new tracks, modes, fixes, and more for Arena Commander? Well, it does. Here's Arena Man Duncan Bunting himself to tell us more. I'm just giving everybody nicknames now. You only have 8 minutes to explain all the Arena Commander things coming in Alpha 323.
Forson's taken half of it. So with... Sorry.
7 minutes, 50 seconds.
What?
Can't handle the pressure.
Yeah.
For 323, we've got a bunch of new maps. We've got 5 new racetracks coming to Arena Commander. First, we've got the Skyscraper, which is across the urban scape of Area 18. It's actually a map from the PU, which already has the holographic sign set up. So this was a fun one for our teams because we had to kind of mix Arena Commander and PU together for this race. Next up, we've got Kaplan Circuit. Kaplan Circuit is in Orison, and it is a very long but kind of straight and still challenging map. I don't think I've ever raced it without crashing after the first turn. Next up, we've got another map on Orison. It's the Dunlow Derby. Now, this was actually a community challenge from last year when the community team reached out to you guys and challenged you to get the best lap. We've now formalized it and put it into Arena Commander. Fourth, we've got Lorville Outskirts. Now, this is right beside Hurston. And the reason we're getting into this...
Just noticing here, Algared, again, it might be Arena Commander thing, but there's a lot more arrows than I've previously noticed.
Yeah, there's probably more arrows in Arena Commander than in the PU, and I think that's what he was saying. We had to meld, even though it's in Arena Commander, even though the racetrack was in
Live.
PU, in live, they had to do a bit of... They had to meld it with Arena Commander, so I think there's elements that are in both, but they kind of,
Yeah, okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I'm bumbling there. So.
Patch now is because we got streaming, and it was actually our first ever map that we set up with streaming technology on Arena Commander. The race is across this mining forge facility that's behind Lorville, so you're ducking down and under buildings, between rocks, in and out of pylons. It's a really closed-in, high-G race in low atmosphere on a heavy planet. The fifth map is called the Stanton Pyro Jump Point. It's actually something you guys helped test, and it was implemented for the Mastermodes experimental mode for Classic Race. This map was created so that we kind of want to see the difference between players racing SCM versus Nav mode and whether they switch between them. And the map just worked so well as our second 0G map for Arena Commander. We wanted to add it into Classic Race now that Mastermodes is part of the entire game.
So I think that's actually an important one.
Yeah.
Because that's going to be a key map that everyone can use just to get a feel of the differences of Nav mode and SCM mode. And so, learn how the difference in those flight modes of Mastermodes is. I don't know about you, when I was first doing the testing it, and I was, what the hell's going on? Why my shield's gone off? It was even though I knew in my head what was happening.
Well, I think that's
I was so used to seeing it the other way, it was it was disconcerting. So having something to practice and...
Well, most people would think racing just requires you to go really fast, but as soon as you put defenses in place, like I need shields because I'm being shot at, like so there's some kind of combat on it, that means you got to go slower to get through that area. So it essentially, you do need to change.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
so that map being the one they put in specifically to test those different flight modes is a really good practice and tool that we as players can use to actually just to increase our survivability in the PU.
I think that switching between modes is probably going to be the biggest change up to racing. Some people are going to love it and other people are going to hate it. It's like, well, I'm going to snail mode now.
Well,
just to get my shields back.
You look at the Scarlet Apex race that we have in Anzia, which is around the mine, the asteroids.
What we're about to see here, yeah?
Sorry?
So this is hang on, just let me play it.
As a bonus, we're getting Miner's Lament, which
This
was
one?
a classic race map.
No, that's
No?
Scarlet Apex is a race that EchoBit developed for us before this one came out. But it was the first live fire race that
I just meant I meant the location. So it's not Miner's Lament, it's somewhere else. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's get going.
Enabled in all flight modes, so you'll be able to experience Swarm or any dogfighting mode on Miner's Lament, which is a really awesome map to experience with the new Mastermodes speeds because of all the cover and debris everywhere. It really makes for a kind of a unique experience compared to our other maps. So let's get into the new experimental modes for 323. Starting with Engineering. We've got 3 game modes coming. I'm going to let Torsten tell you about it.
Have you had a chance to get in and try this?
No, I haven't had a chance yet. The last week I've been pretty crook. But just knowing that engineering is coming in, and it's something that we need to know. This is, I'm hoping, given that they're using A2, that it's multi-crew.
Yeah.
And it's going to be really key.
No, it is. It's the kickoff of multi-crew, and he'll talk about the modes. You have a look.
But I think it's really key to getting players used to that gameplay. It's almost like some of those sailing ships. I can't remember them where you've got to maintain the ship, and
it's like
different people doing different jobs.
It's kind of like what you and I have been saying. Like up until now, we've had this single flight meta, and it is nowhere near as difficult as what it is going to be working in a group. I'm pretty sure they'll talk about it, but just...
I think the other thing that comes in is it's going to show, okay, if I'm flying a big ship without a crew, I can still function, I can still do stuff, but I'm not going to last as long as I would if I'm attacked.
Absolutely.
It's showing, yes, you can use the big ships with minimum crew or whatever, but there are certain advantages you're going to have when you've got a full crew. And I think that's that balance aspect.
So we introduced, with the help of Duncan's team, an experimental mode in the Arena Commander, where we have 3 different modes. It's a duel, it's a 1v6 fight, and it's the free flight. So in the first mode, in the 1v1 mode, you, as your group, are sitting in an A2, and you are facing another group of players in another A2. Ideal crew is 6 players. You fire at each other and try to destroy the other ship, while some of the players might be running around and repairing any damage that has been dealt. The purpose of our test, we focus on the time to kill, where we want to see what a difference the corresponding engineering team on the ship itself does. So we are looking at the time for how long the items actually survives, how long the fuses survive, how long the A2 itself survives, how long the players survive in that scenario. In the second mode, you are again using the A2, but this time you are not fighting another A2, this time you are fighting a group of Gladii. So the difference is that there are multiple attackers, so you basically have to coordinate your defense. But in addition to that, we are also looking into a different sized weapons, a different loadout. The A2, for example, is fully energy weapon, versus the Gladius actually has a ballistic that has different penetration values in comparison to the disclaimer. So we put some penetration values right now on the energy weapon, which is not the plan right now for the actual release, but for our testing purposes we needed to put some values there. The difference is it's multiple attackers, with a different type of weapon set, with different type of ammunition that has a different impact on the ship items inside the A2.
So what that kind of shows there is two completely juxtapositions there. You've obviously got the team versus team to show you what you're going to be like against other big ships, and then obviously that single seat fighter meta versus what we're moving towards. And I think it's going to show people just how more complicated these bigger ships are, and what you and I have been saying for years, that whole essential push towards molded crew and working as a team is going to have all those benefits. And again, this is the initial implementation. I've got no doubt it'll grow from here, but it's really interesting. Even just the map and stuff, when you get in there, like, you can see all the size, like even on this map you can see here in front of us, all the different size components and stuff like that, and you actually get a lot of details about the ship on this screen alone, not even to mention what it's doing.
Or the area that are damaged or anything. The other thing that I found interesting when that is that for our testing purposes, we've done this. And so you can also see them looking at, okay, how do energy weapons function versus ballistic weapons? How's that balance out? And
it's also bringing in new components too, like on the A2 specifically. You've got initially when I got in there, when I was the first time, we were struggling to understand what certain things were, but it was batteries and power plants. So there is actually like everything, like you can use that temporary power, but it doesn't last very long. Do you use it to recharge the shields? Do you use it to get the guns back up so they can fire faster and things like that? It's just all interesting. Again, player choice, Algared. It's just screaming player choice.
It reminds me a lot of Starfleet Battles, the board game.
Yeah.
You'd fill out your energy allocation form, and you'd have your batteries, and your batteries you could use them to boost your shields or power the energy, the weapons, or anything. But then you'd have to recharge it later on, and
you can quickly see the depth at which engineering is going to come about, because again, that engineer is going to be making some really keen choices, and if he makes the wrong one, the ship goes boom.
Yeah, all of a sudden, I'm going to put our battery power here, and right now I'm going to recharge it, and all of a sudden, because he's recharged the battery, something else shuts down, and it's gone crap, So having that balance of how your engineer runs, or how your engineering team is repairing things, what order they do them, is going to have a significant impact.
And that's just dropping the order. That's not actually physically going there and actually repairing it as well. So you got the speed at which you repair it and stuff like that. So you can see very quickly the time to kill is about to drastically increase across the board. And I'd say that on all ships as well. And from what I've seen in Mastermodes, that seems to be the case.
Yeah.
So there's obviously been some background testing that we just have not seen.
And with that element where, and I think this is something we saw way back. It goes back to that whole argument of a Connie being, the old Connie should be able to defeat 3 F-7C fighters 50% of the time because of the price variation and the crew versus single crew. And it's kind of balancing, I've got 6 people on this ship. Therefore, I've got to make sure that it's not just a once and done, bang, you're gone, because that small fighter shouldn't be able to take out that 6-man crew in seconds. And so you've got to have that balance aspect. And I think this any time we play this, it's giving them that chance to actually evaluate and look at the data and work it out in a more safe, controlled environment where they actually know where the parameters are and what the difference, so.
I do think that they've picked a fairly beefy ship, because guns wise, an A2 has got as many guns essentially as a hammerhead, so it's quite a beefy ship to pick. But also, it's got that cargo ship look about it. So they've picked this kind of up-gunned cargo-looking ship. It's kind of a weird sweet spot.
Yeah, I've got to admit, I hate the A2s and the C2, and I hate them because, to me, they feel rabbit warren-y. They almost feel as bad as the Starfarer. Now, that's just me. That's because I very rarely get into the ship because I don't like the look. I don't like the endless corridors to get into the bridge. And so the Crusader ships already have this aversion to me, just because of the difficulties to get in places.
They've definitely done some work on it, though. It is definitely not as repetitious, and yes, it's still got the tunnels, right? But they've done all this texture breakup, and you'll see when you get into it, they've put some different textures in it, and it just makes it a little bit easier on the eye. So yeah.
Well, one of the things I did like with the with this range of ships when we saw them is that those endless corridors were actually also where they were storing the components, which actually gave them finally a use rather than the Mercury Star Runners, where it was just.
And they've reworked some of that as well because of where the fuses have got to go and things like that as well. So yeah, but the noticeable thing is you start with like 5 fuses in your inventory. I think the one thing that I noticed about this, I don't know if you remember that diagram of the hammerhead where there was multiple routing options. There's just not as many routing options as there was initially planned. So I think they've dialed it back a little bit. And so like say there was a break between these 2 points, there's probably only 1 fuse between there. But you can have up to 2 fuses in each spot. So if you were really like when you start out your journey, you probably have 2 fuses in every single spot. But eventually, as they break, you kind of take one out, fix it, and you've got that one left to fix, to hold on. But then if they both break, well, then you're into trouble and you got to shuffle some stuff around. So there will be this running around gameplay. You can kind of see it pretty quickly.
And it certainly gives the engineers an active job to do. The other thing is that if your engineer, say, on a ship like the Connies, where at sometimes your engineer was one of your turret gunners. So if I need to be running around fixing things and I've only got my usual minimum crew, like if, I'm in a Connie, I've got 4 crew.
I think that's a lot of the reasons why they want to do these test algorithms, so they can see just how viable and how it's all going to work. Like how and some ships will have that as an inherent weakness. Like you just won't have the people to man the turrets and fix the ship. And again, player choice, you'll have to choose. So
well, you look at a ship that's got like the Connie with its snub fighter. You've got 4 people on your crew. One person goes on a snub fighter.
Well, you're losing that person, aren't you? As soon as they get off the ship, they ain't coming back.
You've lost them. You've lost them for that ability to help with engineering. You have both turret gunners. That means there's the pilot. So even at that point, you're now going, okay, well, who's going to do engineering? Do I lose my torpedo operator? Do I lose my who's going to take on those roles? And
it's a big choice to deploy that Merlin now. Like really, really is. And it's going to have.
Or do I put a strain on my life support systems down the track by taking a 5th person? And they're all considerations that, as players, we're going to have to work out. But also in this type of testing environment, certainly will help with that.
Yep. All right.
We are hoping to learn how much longer the A2 survives in this scenario versus multiple attackers. So if we...
I don't know if you saw that was the 2 fuses I was talking about before.
Yeah.
We suddenly gain an advantage over multiple attackers once an engineer is actually running around and fixing items or doing some maintenance that is required. The third mode is free flight. In free flight, you basically spawn any ship that is valid for the mode. You can familiarize yourself with the base principles of the engineering gameplay, so you can experiment with the engineering console, figure out a balanced power management. We currently already have a very limited power management available to you, where it's just about turning items on so that you are off and on to get into a positive or equal balance so that you don't deplete your battery. Also meant to be for you to help you orientate yourself for the other gameplay scenarios, so that you know where to look for the relays, where to look for the fuses, where to look for the corresponding items. So it's basically the learning practice room for the actual modes. So the intention of this test...
Sorry, mate?
That becomes really important about just knowing where the things are. So people who know the ship, like I'd be hopeless on Hercules because I don't know the maps of the ship, so I avoid them because I don't like them.
Well, that's also why that overlay map helps, because it actually does tell you where they are. So
but it's still really indicative. If you don't know the ship you're serving on, you're screwed. And I think, in a sense, that goes back to Squadron 42 of why they didn't want to make the Idrises or the Javelins that readily knowable, because part of that gameplay was I'm new on the ship, I've got to fix something. Oh, where the hell is and that urgency, but not knowing the ship that well, would have come into it. But
It's interesting to see where it's going to go. I've got a feeling a lot of content creators are going to be kind of streaming this and playing it because it is that first. It's going to. Some people are going to love it and some people are going to hate it. I can just see it being like, again, you've got to get some more details in to see where it's going to go because at the moment it is just placing fuses. But I think what they are trying to test is their time to kill. That is the first thing. And they'll tweak that and then it'll be, they'll do repetitions
I can
from there.
see when a streamer's using crew to repair stuff, there's almost going to be an advantage for doing split screen, showing the different points of view of both people, where your engineer's running around trying to repair something and your pilot's
and your lead engineer's like going, oh no, to the left, to the right, to the left. Especially when it's a newer player, like you said, not knowing the ship. So yeah. All right.
Is a very focused, where we want to learn about the time to kill, not only for the ship, but also, well, actually mainly for the items. It is not the full engineering gameplay loop, so we don't showcase the full energy balance, energy management, coolant management, all the other resources that you will have. So it's just about how damage is applied, what are the tactical choices that player make, how much time it takes to kill the components, how much time it takes to kill the.
So that's the part I missed, the killing of the components too.
The other point that I just thought of is it also is going to show the fail point, the disadvantage of being in a fighter, because you've got all those components that are external, it's damaged. I can't fix it on the fly. I've got to and so it's a negative to that light fighter meta versus
you can fix them, but you got to literally finish the fight and get out, then fix them. That's the disadvantage. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Whereas the big ship with the internal components can be actually repairing them on the go.
Yep, absolutely. All right.
I think,
and some ships, as you would point out, Algared, if you had like what we said with the Zeus CL, if you can't get the components, how the hell can you repair yourself? You know?
Well, and the other one is ships like, is it not the Valkyrie? I've forgotten the one. The one with the redundancy upon redundancy upon redundancy.
That would be the Vanguard.
The Vanguard, right? So it's supposed to have multiple of each system.
And it does, yeah.
And the people have found that storage section underneath a hatch where a component goes, oh look, we've got a storage. No, that's a component, mate. But those redundancies and extra components are actually going to give that time to kill as well and increase that.
And it works on a ship like that too, because it is essentially a 2-crew aircraft, so it allows them to keep fighting in the turret for longer. But eventually it also makes it more repairable, because if one breaks, you've got another one to fall back on while he's repairing the other one. Yeah, absolutely.
And even if one's turned off, turned off, it's not getting damaged or whatever, and then this one gets damaged, so you flick on the other one. And
so you're going to see essentially the Vanguard will have its heyday again. It'll come. Everything comes full circle.
Well, as this comes through, the Vanguard suddenly becomes a great ship rather than
where it is right now. And again, adding armor and all those other things that we're about to, as they come down the pipe, because that can't be that far away now, some of that stuff, surely.
No, well, I think even them talking about the penetration of energy weapons, which are put in specifically, even though they don't want it to be the case.
That was so that was because they wanted you to be able to shoot through ships and show how it could damage the components. And in the free flight mode, it was really evident, because like the person I was with was flying around with a Gladius, and as they were shooting through the ships, you could see the red light start to flicker and components start to break and stuff like that. So it was just showing it so you could literally show how the damage works. So you didn't have to sit there and have it like fire at it for ages before it started to penetrate.
And as you said, that's not what they intend, but they wanted it for testing purposes. But I think that also plays into that whole aspect of that repair and the impact it'll have. So and the impact of armor going down the track. So
absolutely.
Your opponent. That's it.
Jared, how we doing on time? Do we still have time to tell them about the other stuff?
Hurry, do it fast.
What is the other stuff? So for Free 23, we've also got custom lobbies coming to Arena Commander. Now, this was previously called private matches many years ago, and it's finally coming back in the form of custom lobbies. The reason it's called custom is we've got a bunch of custom settings for you guys, and this is something we're super excited to expand upon. So I want to see you guys team up with your mates, go into custom lobbies, feedback on our feedback threads of what custom settings you would like, and we'll implement them. The other big feature is obviously streaming, which I mentioned earlier. This is really awesome tech that we finally got into Arena Commander, and it's going to let us bring quite a lot of fun stuff to you guys fairly soon. Characters in VoIP is another update coming. VoIP we're enabling in Arena Commander as well with mute and unmute functions. And your PU character is now playable in Arena Commander, so no more running about as this default bald character. You can now customize your character and bring it into Arena Commander, do whatever you want. There's also changes to Gun Rush, Pirate Swarm, general team balance. For Gun Rush, we've been working closely with the weapons team to get them the feedback that they want, so they've been helping us set up new weapon lists. One of the big Gun Rush changes is that we're adding multiple weapon lists so that we can turn on and off different weapon lists for you guys to play throughout the patch. For Pirate Swarm, the Javelins are getting replaced with 2 Idrises.
I'm just noticing this whole huge testing theme, Algared. I don't know if you're seeing it across the board, but that's just like, let's just do all these private lobbies and just see what sticks. It's almost like the whole throw it at the wall and see what sticks approach.
Well, you got to remember that I don't know if you do remember, but one of the first things they talked about Arena Commander when it first came in was this is our test bed.
Yeah, they did.
I don't think that's ever changed. Yes, it becomes our training. You know, the idea is that in-game, it is our training pool. It's where we go and we can die as many times as we like, and it doesn't impact the life of our character. It's just like playing a video game. But it's also the test bed. It's where they can test different things. It's where CIG can constantly be testing the balance of different types of weapons and different styles of gameplay and different styles of shields and components. And because you can actually dial in the thing, because you've only got certain ships available, you can actually dial in those characteristics a lot and get a lot more direct feedback a lot quicker. So yeah, to me it's just reiteration of what they've said in the past. So
Loading process and get rid of all your gear and stuff like that. So yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
With a lot of firepower coming after the event that happened in 322.2. For team balance, we're addressing some of the challenges we've had with it recently. For 322, we tried out some stuff, and for 323, we think we've came up with the best solution. It's going to keep you playing with your teammates and have the best experience. And finally, let's talk about achievements.
Target destroyed.
So there's 2 achievement updates coming with this patch. The first one, you're able to play Endless Vandal Swarm. If you reach Rave 25, you're going to get the new Vandal Aggressor badge. Next up, we've got the 99th Test Squadron badge. Now this is a badge that was added for 322 and it's getting an update for this patch. For this badge, you just have to play every experimental mode throughout the patch. So that's most of the stuff coming to Alpha 323 with Arena Commander, but there's a couple more things. Check out the patch notes when they drop, and be sure to check out Arena Commander. There's a lot of exciting things coming to the PU, but we do have some surprises still left, and did that work? I felt like that was way too short. I did one quick sentence.
No, you're good.
Play Arena Commander.
So what did we learn this week? Well, we learned that there's 5 new maps for racers and a whole new mode for grab-love bikes on the way. That the next experimental modes for Arena Commander are just a narrow slice of the engineering gameplay focused on time to kill for ships and components alike. And that private lobbies, they're back. And they're called custom matches, and they'll be waiting for you when Alpha 323 drops. For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee. Thanks for letting us share the process of game development with you, and we'll see y'all here next week.
Okay. Well, Algared, that had a little more fruit, so to speak, than I thought it would have. Especially the experimental modes with engineering and stuff like that.
yeah, I've always liked the idea of Arena Commander being that test bed. I've always liked the idea of it being that area where we can get experience at certain modes of play.
I just didn't think it would be so long until we actually saw it used as an actual test bed. It's been too long. It's been like almost 10 years. Oh, that's sad. Yeah.
But you remember they started with Arena Commander. Arena Commander kind of died because they went, well, we're doing the PU. Everything we're doing in the PU is giving us the information we get from Arena Commander. So they let Arena Commander kind of
drop off,
go into the background. But now they're using Arena Commander for those more specific areas. They can say, okay, we're only using these weapons. We want to see what these weapons do, or how these weapons operate under certain circumstances. They're the only ones available. I like the idea of custom matches coming back. I'm pretty certain that when we used to do Crux Cup in Arena Commander, one of the things that actually made it impossible for us to do it for a year or two was the fact that there was no way to do those, to organise who was in each team.
It's probably why a lot of those new tracks are going in. So I'd like to hear in the comments below, you guys, like, what do you think of the experimental modes? Are you going to get in and actually try Arena Commander? Because there is the biggest advantage is just the not having to go through the normal startup process of the PU. It's kind of like you get in, you're in a group, and bang, you're off to the races. So there is a certain advantage to that just instant dropping in. And I think the big thing for the experimental modes is that test of the multi-crew. I think a lot of people are going to take the opportunity to dive into that. And it's interesting to see that come in because at the moment, you got all these people complaining about, oh, I'm losing my light fighter meta, but I think you need to see the other side of it before you can even really comment. So to me, that's important.
And I think that balance of gameplay, multi-crew versus single play, and how that balances out and how that works is important. I think people who just want that single fighter being absolute dominant all the time need you to get their head out of their ass.
So what do you want to hear, Algared, from people below?
I'd like to see what people think. I know in the past I have tried to drop into Arena Commander and check things out, but when you're by yourself and you're just doing it on the fly, 40 minutes, I'll try that. And you try one of those modes where you need extra people. You sit there for 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes and no one comes in. And so that's a problem I still see with Arena Commander. Unless you key up with people to go in with you, you kind of end up stuck.
No, they have some public and private lobbies now too, so that they're getting around that, so don't worry.
But yeah, what do you want to see? I'd like to see some longer races. I'd like to see, some of the Crux Cup races put in so that you can actually test those in a more organised environment. But that's just tape. I'm showing my bias. But yeah, so what do you want? What other testing do you want? Do you like the idea of them using it at Arena Commander as a test bed to test different functions out? It gives you, so what are your thoughts?
All right, with that then, don't forget to like, subscribe, ring that notification bell, and thank you to everyone with an extra mile on Patreon at the end credits of the video. With that, he's been Algared.
He's been Execute, and we're out of here. Take care.
See ya, citizens. Say goodbye, Sadie. Bye-bye.
Bye, Tiny.